Good day, Alex Sokol Blosser here, winemaker, and also oversee the vineyards here at my family's place, Sokol Blosser Winery. Second episode time. Get ready to be geeked out today. This is our series called From Our Land to Your Hand. So we're going to take some deep dives into some aspects of winemaking and grape growing here. And last week we talked about soil. This week we're going to talk about climate and how it affects ripeness. So it takes four things to make a great wine. Four things. So imagine this as a four-legged stool. You gotta have the right soil, you gotta plant with the right clone, on the right rootstock, and the fourth leg of that stool is climate. So if you get all those four things and you're a good farmer, you can make world-class quality Pinot Noir. And that's what we do here in Oregon, right here in the Dundee Hills. How do we do that? It's more than just magic. So stay with me here. This will take a little bit. Okay, I'm going to explain to you something called growing degree days, or GDD. Yeah, you know me. So how do we get to GDD and the growing degree days? And then that translates into the Winkler Index for growing regions. What? Okay, here we go. See if you can follow this. We have the GDD, growing degree days. How do we figure this out? We take the high of the day plus the low of the day, divide it by 2, and then subtract it from 50 degrees. Why 50 degrees? I'll tell you why. Because grapes grow and things grow when it's above 50 degrees. Can things grow when it's 30 degrees? No, grapes will die. Not die, but all the green growing will brown and you can't grow grapes if it's freezing. So basically, when it comes to the GDD, what we do is we measure it from March 1st to September 30th, or I do here for practical purposes. Now, let's just take what the GDD is for today here in the Dundee Hills. So we're gonna have a high of 70 degrees. The low is gonna be 45 degrees. Sorry, people internationally, I'm talking Fahrenheit. And then we divide that by 2, subtract it by 50. So the GDD for today, Cinco de Mayo, happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way, will be 7.5 GDDs. Now, how many GDDs, how many growing degree days do we need to ripen Pinot Noir to make it into something amazing? Well, we need roughly 2,000 to 2,500 GDDs. And we're gonna get those between March 1st and the end of September when we typically harvest. So our 10-year average for right here in the Dundee Hills, for the last 10 years, it's been going up because of climate change. Sorry, folks. Our 10-year average is 2,418 GDDs. Some years it's higher, some years it's lower. Averages don't, it's just an average, whatever. Okay, so that's how we get to growing degree days. And that's something that's important because when some of the first people were trying to figure out where to grow grapes, AKA our neighbor David Lett, he actually looked at the Winkler model. He looked at where a cool climate would be for ripening and growing Pinot Noir. Before we get to ripening, let me explain some other GDDs around the world. Okay, so the Winkler Index goes from 1 to 5. I couldn't fit in 5 here. So the first is zone 1A. 1A, okay? So he split up, zone 1 into 2. 1A, 1B. So 1A, it's cool. 1A is like Champaign or Traverse City, Michigan. Can you grow Pinot Noir there? Yeah, but it'll make like bubbles, all right? And the GDD accumulation days are 1,500 to 2,000. Zone 1B, hey, that's us, is from 2001 to 2,500. So that's Dundee Hills and Burgundy, Alsace, really world-class quality growing regions for Pinot Noir. Then you go up, Zone 2, Columbia Valley and Bordeaux. You've heard of Bordeaux. Columbia Valley, that's Eastern Washington. Amazing Syrah. And Bordeaux, you know what's grown there. Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Cab Franc, and other stuff. All right, then we get warmer. Zone 3, that's Sonoma and Margaret River, Australia. Down under. All right, Zone 4, getting even warmer. Napa, Barossa Valley, Australia, again, and the Southern Rhone. There is Zone 5. It gets even warmer. That's like Sherry in Spain. Juarez, Zone 6, that's hell. So no one's growing grapes down there. Sorry. Okay, so let's just say that world-class quality Pinot Noir is made at the kind of the extremes of the climate zones, meaning it barely gets ripe. So why is that a big deal? Well, let me explain. So this is all about ripeness. And ripeness starts in the growing season, and we start measuring ripeness at the time of bloom. Bloom or flowering is what they call it in Down Under or in Europe. So bloom is what we call it here in Oregon, or flowering. That starts sometime in June. Now, when we get 50% of bloom in the vineyard, you can set your clock to 100 to 110 days post 50% bloom, you'll be picking grapes. So as soon as I know when we have 50% bloom in the vineyard, I can go, okay, my life belongs to the grapes 100 to 110 days from now. So clear my schedule. You can just set your clock by it because it's 100 to 110 days that it takes to get that full phenological ripeness. Like all the flavors are in the grapes and the sugar. So imagine a line with the phenological ripeness, all the flavors, and imagine a line with the sugars increasing too. Sometimes if you don't grow in the right climate, your ripeness can be like this and your sugars can be like this. Not good. Okay, so back to the ripeness line. So we have bloom in June. Harvest roughly September. It used to be October, but not much anymore because we got climate change. And then, so this is 0 days. This line at harvest is 100 to 110 days post 50% bloom. And we're picking at around, 23 to 25 bricks. That's kind of the bricks we're looking at. And hopefully we're also, into that 110 days to 100 to 110 days. Now, in a climate like Oregon, bloom is in June. So we start measuring GDDs in March. But we know that once we get to around 2,200 growing degree days, we're going to be getting pretty close to this ripe bricks, all right? Now, what happens if you try to grow Pinot Noir in an area with, like in a different zone? Let's say we're going to try to grow Pinot Noir in zone 4, which is Napa or the Lodi. So this is what will happen. Let me get my little pen. So in that area, you have so much heat accumulation. Like it gets hot in Napa, like 100 degrees. And the Lodi in California, it gets really hot too. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna have, instead of, in 100 days at growing Pinot Noir in that region, you're gonna get 23 to 25 bricks, maybe as soon as 90 days post that 110 day, post 50% bloom. So you're gonna get bricks before you get full ripeness. That's not good. So don't forget, raisins have a lot of sugar, but do you wanna make top quality Pinot Noir out of raisiny Pinot Noir? Not really. So if you're in a really hot climate, you will get sugar before you get phenological ripeness. So you wanna grow the right grape in the right place. Now, let's take another example. What would happen if we're growing Cabernet Sauvignon here in Oregon? Guess what? My parents tried to do that when they planted grapes in the early 70s. They planted 1 acre of Cabernet Sauvignon. This is what would happen. Cabernet Sauvignon needs a lot more growing degree days than we have. So basically, here in Oregon, the Cabernet would get to 110 days post 50% bloom, and it would only be at maybe 20 bricks. 20 bricks. Not really gonna cut it because you're gonna make it might get some ripeness, but you don't have enough sugar. You're gonna get something that tastes like a bell pepper. It never ripened because it needs longer growing degree days. Hence, some of the best Cabernet is grown in Napa. You know, they're getting those warmer days. You build up the growing degree days and you can get it ripe. So back to ripeness. So if we are in Oregon and we get 100 to 110 days post 50% bloom, we're going to get the bricks that we need. They're not going to be too high. They're not going to be too low. And we're going to get that 100 to 110 days post 50% bloom, which means you're going to get that phenological ripeness. So growing in the right place is kind of important for the varietal. So that's why Pinot Noir does really, really well in Oregon, because we have the right growing degree days, the right soil, and we're planting the right clone and the right rootstock. Can you dig it? That's a lot. I know. Next week, we'll keep talking about the other legs of this stool. All right. Are you down with GDD? Thank you. Next week.